the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the Black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the Black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we
go. Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
More of the Sunday Rewind is coming your way next.
60% of the time, it works every time.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Husker Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7. Normally, we get Broncos football today at 3 o'clock this afternoon, so we're going a bit early. And we'll just take you right up until game time at 3:05. Got to talk a little Husker volleyball. Of course, they sweep Iowa on Friday night. You kind of thought that might be a case against a 1-win team or an 8-win team of Iowa. Not a great volleyball program. But today you thought it would be a little more challenging as we bring in former Husker great middle blocker, Tanya Taki. Were you surprised that Nebraska was able to do it in straight sets today?
I mean, I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a fight, but I think what happened was Purdue put up a big fight for 2 sets and then just couldn't hang on energy-wise after that.
Yeah, unable to obviously listen or watch while we're doing this on the air, but I'm trying to follow along on Twitter. And it seems like there's times, and it's a little bit possibly to a few of the more prominent players, Becca Alec, Whitney Launstein, Allie Batenhorst, sophomores and freshmen, the consistency level. But there's times that Nebraska looks unbeatable, and then they look a little discombobulated. Is that possibly just some of the more prevalent players being younger, or is there something else you see?
Well, I think that's a little bit of running a 6-2. There's only one person in the game, 6 rotations around, and that's Maddie Kubik. And then you have Lexi Rodriguez playing 6 rotations, but only in the back row. So you're always rotate. Every time you rotate, it's a new team. Every time you rotate, it's a new team, meaning there's new players coming in. And so sometimes, in the very last play, the left side player took that, but then we rotate and she's not even in the game anymore. So just having that consistency through a 6-2 is kind of the challenge. But I think having Whitney Launstein play that one rotation where she plays back row and serving, and Nicklins in the front row setting, I mean, that is giving them some consistency in 4 rotations instead of 3. And I thought that they did a really good job in that rotation. They were talking on the TV that we were scoring 5 points basically every time Launstein went back to serve. And so that's partly because you're having that 4th rotation with Nicklin, that 4th rotation with Launstein in, and that just creates that consistency.
Former Husker middle blocker, a great. Tanya Taki, head coach at Nebraska, won as well. Nebraska obviously has their setting issues, and maybe that's one of the reasons you go to a 6-2 is you don't have a dominant setter. Do you think that John Cook would rather just have 2 setters? And because one of the reasons you go to a 6-2 is you have a lot of great outside hitters. Would you just rather have a bunch of great outside hitters or one great setter?
I mean, I'm a Coach Pettit girl. I played for Coach Pettit for 4 years, and Coach Pettit would always say the team with the best setter wins. And so you're gonna have to put a big price tag, I guess you could say, on the setting. However, when you're running in today's world against super seniors that can really pound the ball, blocking becomes a premium. And so it's just interesting how the game has evolved in the last, 3 years since COVID, just how important a humongous big front row is. And you can see like Wisconsin is they have 6'9", 6'5", 6'6", they're bringing in these humongous players and dominating the sport. And so it's hard to kind of hem and haw between better setter, better block, that kind of thing. So,
did you get a chance to watch any of the game last night between Wisconsin and Penn State?
yes, I did watch the fifth set of Wisconsin Penn State, and man, they were so close. And I was just thinking, man, are they beatable? Are they beatable? Are they beatable? And then they just hit this level of unstoppable. And I think they're just a little bit more consistent than us. But we'll see. I mean, we're at home. It's, everything's on the line. You're going to get Nebraska's best, and we're going to see what that's going to be.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. As I'm watching the fifth set last night, I'm looking. I don't know the game a minuscule the way you do, but I'm looking at it. And I'm looking for things that I've learned by watching Kelly Hunter do YouTube videos trying to explain different things where she breaks down film, and then listening to you and the way you explain the game. And I'm trying to looking for that little crack. Is there a crack in Wisconsin's foundation where Nebraska can get through? And
right,
there is, but you've got to identify the crack and then figure out where the next one is, because Wisconsin is so well coached that crack's going to get taken care of pretty quickly.
Right. I think when I talk to people who may not be like, hey, I just started watching volleyball. There's so much excitement around it, but I don't know really what I'm watching. I try to tell people to watch where the setter is getting the ball. If the setter is getting the ball in front of the 10-foot line, there's a higher chance for them to score a point on their set. But if the setter is getting the ball behind the 10-foot line, then they're going to have a hard time getting their humongous players the ball. And that's how we beat Florida and in the championship game in Kansas City back in 2017, I think. It's just we served so tough that their setter never got the ball in front of the 10-foot line. If you're hitting at them and they're digging balls behind the 10-foot line, you are going to win. So if you're the side that can be aggressive, then you're going to win more. And so that's when we're playing Wisconsin, you want to watch on who is on the offensive and who is on the defensive. Are they serving so tough that we can't control it and then we're not able to set our hitters? Or are we serving so tough that they can't control it? And just, if you were to put a tally mark on, okay, we won that serve and pass game. They won the serve and pass game. We won the serve pass game. We're at the end of the game, that's who wins the game. Yeah. Is who can get their setter in the best position to get their big hitters the ball.
Former Husker great Tanya Taki, Nebraska one coach as well. Nebraska has Wisconsin. They host both Wisconsin and Minnesota. In your mind, will Nebraska end up sharing the Big Ten championship this year?
Well, it's not just the Wisconsin game that I'm worried about. I was just talking to my husband about, what's going to happen is that we're going to put it all out there and we're going to work so hard on Friday night to beat Wisconsin. And then we have to come back on Saturday and play Minnesota. So even if we beat Wisconsin, it doesn't matter until we beat Minnesota. And it's just like, oh my gosh, that just the mentality and the energy and we need to be getting these girls hooked up to those, hydration and IVs or whatever they have these days. And just to be able to turn it around and play competition that big 2 nights in a row. But that's also what the NCAA tournament is. You play the Sweet 16 on Friday, and then you play the top 8 on Saturday. And then you turn around and you play the Final Four, Thursday, Saturday. So it's preparing us for the next level. It's just, can we do it in coming up this weekend?
I understand that Nicklin Hames hit 5,000 career assists today. I get it. She's been here an extra year and all that type of stuff. But what kind of a number is that in college volleyball? It almost seems unattainable.
Right. I mean, I think we're at that point where we have super seniors going to be, having those kind of stats. And I think, people can say, well, that's not fair. Fiona only played 4 years and that kind of thing. But the other thing is that Fiona didn't set her freshman year. Her freshman year was Christy Johnson's senior year, and if Nicklin comes in as a freshman, hats off to her. She was the starting setter at Nebraska as a freshman. So she might, even without that COVID year, she has that extra year over Fiona. But I think that's a huge milestone. And I think it just says a lot about who she has been as a person since she walked in the door. She's been a gamer. She's kind of taken those critics and hushed them. She's little. She's not as athletic as some of those girls. When you look at Nicklin Hames, it does not scream Nebraska volleyball. She is not built like a Husker, and she has made herself one of the best Huskers out there. And I think that's inspiring to the girls who aren't born looking like Jordan Larson. You have to make yourself great, and she has done that.
And like yourself, I think she's going to become maybe a pretty good coach down the line.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like her career path is, and that's her goal, and that's awesome. And props to her for making that decision early, and she has an opportunity to have a great career starting off as a volunteer assistant at Nebraska.
Speaking of coaches, you're one at Nebraska one. What's new with you guys?
I just figured out the math the other day, and I am celebrating 25 years of coaching. I end it this month, will be ending my 25th year. And so we're going to have an ice cream social on my birthday, which is December 8th, at Courtside from 6 to 8. So if I ever coached you might as well come and have some ice cream.
Can Mike and I come?
Yeah.
For
of
ice
course.
cream? No.
Welcome to.
Vanilla and chocolate, or just strawberry?
Yeah, it's only vanilla. I actually rented an ice cream machine.
Woo-hoo.
And so it'll be super fun. And my kids are going to be serving ice cream to everybody for 25 years of coaching.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
We think you're the best. We're going to talk to you hopefully next Sunday after a big weekend of volleyball, both Wisconsin and Minnesota. Go Big Red. Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Good stuff. Tanya Taki, former Husker middle blocker, a great at Nebraska.
And off the text line, the 5,000 assists from Rico.
Rico Suave?
I believe so.
What did he say?
He was at the game.
Oh, he texted in.
No, he texted into the text line.
Oh, I thought it was
the Starter Heyman text line.
Yeah. I think it's the Nicklin Hames type of athlete who's made it at the highest level, 5,000 assists. And she can say what Tanya was just saying. You know what? I wasn't the best athlete.
Yeah.
I wasn't the most talented girl on the floor. But we won.
Yep. At the end of the day.
Yeah, we won. And by the way, they tried to bring in some young guns to take my gig. Didn't always work out so well for them.
Exactly.
Which is always going to be the case. There's always going to be somebody at a school like Nebraska that plays volleyball at the highest level and has the number one recruit coming in, followed by the number one recruit. And then you think, well, I'll just take her job because she's not as good as I am. But she does all the things that you want from your setter, including the leadership part. She's really good
That's absolutely huge.
Yep.
We have got a draft that we are going to do. I think it's going to be fun. I want to give a shout out to Doug for texting in on the Starter Heyman text line as well. The young lady that kicked the field goal and tried to make it into the 500-mile-an-hour win yesterday is actually a soccer player at Nebraska Wesleyan.
Oh, well, that's cheating then. She's really good.
But she still didn't make it because of the wind. So the wind cheated.
She hit it solid. And I think she did it. I was surprised she was out there. Of course, it was 27 degrees, but she was out there in a big jacket. You'd think you might take it off. It might, constrict you. It didn't seem to because she hit it really hard. But that's why I'm saying, had Nebraska gotten into field goal range, I don't think they could have made it into that wind yesterday.
Have belief in Timmy Bleekrode. Come on.
I do believe you, Timmy. I think you're a good kicker, but that's a big win. Let's get to break. We'll come back with our coaching draft. First ever, and hopefully last, ticket Nebraska next coaching draft. I just made up the title.
I would have never guessed.
No, we'll do it coming up next.
At Koppel Chevrolet GMC, we are thankful for so many things this year, starting with our great employees, a generous community, our military personnel, and most importantly, our loyal customer base that continues to drive that money-saving mile of Louisville. Hi, this is Sean Callahan, and on behalf of everybody at Koppel, we want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels to wherever they may take you. Happy holidays from Koppel Chevrolet GMC.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now. In our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de the Alzheimer's Association y the Ad Council.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Back to the Sunday Rewind with Tom and Mike.
That's old school.
Yeah?
No school like the old school.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Tom Stevens sits across from me. Hello. I am Mike Melby, and it is time for the first and hopefully last Husker Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket, draft of potential candidates for the next Nebraska head coaching job in the football program.
I like that. It's a very long name, but I do have a bunch of names. So here's my rules. You get a pick, I get a pick. You get no more than like 10 seconds. Otherwise, you lose your pick.
Oh.
I don't know.
That's scary.
I just made up those rules.
That's
I know you have a lot of names on your list. I just want to get through as many names as we can.
Okay.
So in the first pick of the 2022 NFL Husker next coach draft.
I like it. We're in the NFL and not the Big Ten West anymore.
That's right. Just felt like an NFL type thing.
My first. No, understand that the draft that we are doing is simply a draft of who we would want. This is not who we think we're going to get. We'll cover that when we get done with our draft.
Because if we had a list, and we've done this list of who we think we're going to get, it's not nearly as sexy.
No.
I want this to be a really sexy list. I don't want it to be all, I think we can get that high school coach from, what's he doing these days? Let's get him a call. Not that I think Nebraska will end up with something like that. I just think that the name that they will end up with will be somebody who's a really good coach, and not a sexy name at all. It won't be the names that we have on our draft list, right?
I think we'll draft the next head coach, but I don't think it'll be a name that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you go ahead.
I'm going to go first, and I am going to draft in the first round of the long name draft we're doing. Bob Stoops.
So it doesn't have to be realistic at all.
I'm not going to lie. To me, there's a chance. Why would you not call him? He's been a coach in the XFL here recently.
The best thing that could happen from calling Bob Stoops and say, hey, are you interested? He might say, well, have you heard of my brother, Mark?
Oh,
there's other Stoops in the family that are interested in still coaching.
But Mark just signed an $8.6 million extension to Kentucky through 2031.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? I'm going to take Urban Meyer. He's number one on my list. And if there's any chance that Nebraska could get him for $10 million a year, they should run as hard as they can and just say, we'll do anything. We'll clean your car every day. We'll make sure you have a personal butler, anything that you want, and lots of money as well. But go after Urban Meyer.
I don't disagree with that at all. In the second round of the long name draft, I am going to take a guy that I truly think would be my number one choice.
Okay.
North Carolina State head coach, Dave Doran. He's 50 years old. He's 71-53 at North Carolina State. He was 23-4 at Northern Illinois. He was a defensive coordinator at Kansas and at Wisconsin. He knows the lay of the land. He knows the Midwest. He knows what it takes to win in the Big Ten West. His offensive coordinator is Tim Beck, who was the best offensive coordinator that I think Nebraska probably had in the post
and we
Frank
still
Solich
ran him
era.
out of town. Kind of.
Granted, and I don't think that style would work in the Big Ten West. I don't know that he would bring Tim Beck with him, but that's going to be my second-round choice.
My second-round choice is Mickey Joseph, and it sounds crazy, but because I don't think any of the names that we're going to get ultimately as the next coach at the University of Nebraska are going to be sexy. So in that case, if you can't get anybody sexy, just pick the guy that is already there and already knows how to get to his office and how to kind of run a football program, and maybe some guys on the staff could stay around. Mickey Joseph, way too high. You said maybe you would say, hey, you could have got him in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. I'm picking him high because I believe in him. Mickey Joseph.
I like it. Third round for me, I am going to go after a gentleman who has got a whopping 11 games of head coaching experience at a Power 5 school. Kalen DeBoer at Washington. He was 67-3 at Sioux Falls. He won 3 NAIA titles.
Midwest guy.
Yep, Midwest guy. He was 12-6 at Fresno. 48 years old. Kalen DeBoer for me, round 3.
This may sound unrealistic for a lot of Nebraska fans, but it's who I want. Not that I like the person, because I don't, but I like the way his team plays despite the loss yesterday. PJ Fleck. Go row the boat and have that boat, even though there's not a lot of water in Nebraska, and put it in the water and then row it. Because I love their offense. I love the RPO. I think it's physical. They should have won that game. They found a way to lose. But I like the way Minnesota plays. I want PJ Fleck.
4th round. Man, the 10-second clock may come into play here because I'm not quite sure. 4th round, I'm going to go Bill O'Brien. Alabama offensive coordinator, 53 years old. He was 15-9 at Penn State when he took over after the Sandusky scandal and Joe Paterno was ousted. He went 54-52 at Houston. We all know the mess of morals issues at Houston and the way everything went sideways there. But he's been to the Nick Saban school of how to get your career back on track. I'm going to go in the 4th round, Bill O'Brien.
I think a steal in the 5th round for me is Deion Sanders. We already know Strick has a close relationship with Deion Sanders. He got on the phone. He texted him. And he said, no, I'm not coming there. But would you be interested? Should be the next text from Strick. And then maybe we could start up a conversation. Strick gets him to Lincoln. And there you go. Deion Sanders would be the next coach at the University of Nebraska.
Okay, that's going to be your 4th round pick, by the way. And
is that a 4th round?
4th round, still 4th round.
Okay.
But that's the part the New York Post did not cover is the text messages after what Strick shared on the air, right?
That's right.
Hint, hint.
That's right.
Or that's not a hint. It's actually just made up. So don't worry about it. I'm going to go with my 5th round pick. Cincinnati head coach Luke Fickell, 49 years old, 56-17 at Cincinnati. $3.4 million is all he makes at Cincinnati. You throw 5 at him, I think it's worth it, maybe even 5.5. Fickell was 6-7 at Ohio State after the tattoo scandal and Jim Tressel was ousted, etc. But Fickell is the guy that shattered the glass ceiling, did whatever to get a group of 5 school into the playoff. He knows how to get to the playoff with a team in the AAC. I think he would know how to get Nebraska into a playoff, into a natty.
Although Luke Fickell seems fickle, he almost took the Michigan State gig and he said, a little fickle. I think I'll stay here. So I think, that's the thing I might be concerned in negotiations with him. The Dana Altman syndrome, where you get to Arkansas and they do suey and you go, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here. Yeah. I'll go back to my old job. See you later. The guy on my list that I'm not sure if he fits the culture of Nebraska, but he wins, Sonny Dykes. I think that he has resurrected a program that maybe you could argue should be resurrected pretty quickly because of the talent base that's in the area. But I think Sonny Dykes is the real deal, and they're still undefeated after a 29-28 win over Baylor.
6th round for me in the Husker Rewind next Husker head coach draft.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin. I really don't think it's going to be him, but it could be him because he has history
It's a steal this late in the draft.
It's a steal this late in the draft. I'm not sure that the style he would bring would fit very well in the Big Ten West, but boy, from a standpoint of just sheer entertainment value, it might be number one.
I would love Lane Kiffin here. I don't know how long he would want to be here.
Oh, it'd be 5 years tops, probably.
I think maybe 3 at the most. That guy seems to have a 3
as long as
year
he won.
Oh, as long as he wins, I don't think we'd have a problem with many of the guys on this list. I think this late in the draft, getting Chris Kleinman in this would be, Sipple said he wouldn't be disappointed if it's a Kansas guy. That's Lance Leipold or Chris Kleinman. I think either of those would be good for me. Either of those guys this late in the draft is good for me, but I'm going to go Chris Kleinman.
Kleinman, 55 at K-State, 55 years old, 28-19 at K-State. He had 4 natties up at North Dakota State, and he went 69-6. He only makes $3.5 million a year.
Yeah.
And that's going to lead me to what just then simply has to be my 7th round pick, Lance Leipold at Kansas, 58 years old. He's only 8-14 at KU. He's 6-5 this season. 109-6 though at Wisconsin Whitewater. 6 Division III national titles. He was 37-33 at Buffalo, took over a floundering program there and made it successful. But my 7th round is going to be Lance Leipold.
There you go. There's the
you got a 7th. You got to do a 7th round.
Okay. I'll take Leipold. Do you put Leipold? Who's on the board yet? You know what? I'm going to go with a weird one. Jonathan Smith. He is the head coach at Oregon State. Has Nebraska ever hired a coach from Oregon State before? Might want to give that a shot. It might work out. They're 8-3 this year, and they're playing Oregon this week. Jonathan Smith, unlike Riley, has been better than Riley. He's taken a step further than Riley did, and he's a young, hip kind of dude. Jonathan Smith might be a good pick this late in the draft.
And the guys that we did not pick are kind of interesting. Matt Rule, we did not pick. Matt Campbell, we did not pick. Jeff Monken from Army, who was kind of all afire on Twitter and social media a couple of weeks ago, we did not pick. Didn't take Brett Bielema. Did not take Dave Aranda.
Yeah, he's really fallen off.
Yeah,
and they lost it again.
Yeah, didn't take Gary Patterson, who was rumored a while ago. Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's like all of a sudden, that's the inside track. That's who's going to get it. Mike Gundy had been thrown out. We didn't draft him. And obviously, we didn't draft Mark Stoops with him signing the contract extension at Kentucky this morning. Kyle Whittingham, we left off as well. Those are some of the names that had been tossed about.
Yeah.
And so now we've got our draft done. It was fun. We'll go ahead and burn everything that we wrote all those picks down on because they're all probably awful.
I thought it was a very good draft. At least we threw out some names that you might not have thought about because it seems like we talk about the same names every week.
Yeah.
The Dave Arandas, the Chris Kleinmans, the Lance Leipolds, because they seem most realistic.
Yep.
It feels like those are the names that, what's Nebraska going to want to get a coach? Oh, probably between the $5 and $7 million range. Well, that eliminates, Urban Meyer, that type of thing. I think that's how we sometimes go through a list. And then we get down to what we think is realistic. And then we listen to it. And when it's announced and it's Mike Riley, well, that doesn't make a bit of sense, because nobody saw that coming. I hope it's not that type of hire where it's a hire and you're going, oh my goodness, who is this guy?
If you've got to Google where he's currently coaching and what his record is, that could be a problem.
Yeah. Should we shift to Nebraska basketball real quick?
Yeah.
We're going to go to the game. Arkansas Pine Bluff is 1-5. Nebraska, after having a 27-20 lead in a very ugly first half, at St. John's last Thursday, they fall 70-50. What did you see when watching that game?
I saw imaginary things being thrown at the television by me from the 90-second mark into the second half until I stopped watching and started racing on a sprint car game on PlayStation. Anyway, it was ugly. It was probably the worst game I think that Sam Grasel may have ever played in college. He had 8 turnovers, 6 points. It was a frustrating second half for the Huskers, and I know they're going to rebound today. They lead 20-8 currently at the under 12 timeout at Devaney. Looks like Jawan Gary's leading the way with 10 points, 2 of 3 from 3. And according to Steve Merrick, he goes, I think Juwan Gary understands that there is not one person on Pine Bluff's roster that can match him physically.
Yeah. Or a guy like Blaze Keita. I mean, that was one of the more disappointing things in that game with St. John's. I thought Blaze could take advantage of they're a short team who it's 40 minutes of hell is what Mike Anderson tries to do. They heat up the gym. It's over 100 degrees in there. And they just bring you and they just press you. And they got 17 turnovers out of Nebraska after Nebraska had played a decent first half. But shooting's going to be a concern, I think, all year long. I don't know if turnovers will. Griesel wasn't able to step up in that particular game. I think they really miss Derek Walker.
They do.
And who knows when he's coming back. But you got to shoot the ball better than that, especially from the free throw line where they were 50%. From three, they were 18%. From just from the field, they were 29%. They didn't shoot the ball. That's going to be a struggle, I think, for this team.
The biggest struggle is going to be from the free throw line. They're up right in this game. They're 1 of 5 from the free throw line today. Already early on in the game.
If it's late in the game right now, from what I've seen from Blaze Keita, I'm not sure I'd have him in the game.
Well, and until the call it mysterious health issue that Derek Walker has is overcome by him, then that's going to be the guy that's going to be in the game late most of the time, I would think. Okay, final 60 seconds of the show. We did our draft. We're going to go watch the Husker men's hoops here in a bit. But who, Tom Stevens, do you think will be the next head coach at Nebraska?
I think it's going to be what Steve said early. He doesn't say, well, I think I know who it is, but I think it's a pretty good educated guess.
Yep.
A guy from Kansas who you could afford. Chris Kleinman would be one at Kansas State. Lance Leipold with Nebraska connections would also make sense.
Yep.
Both Midwestern guys. Do more with less.
Yeah, and I think you're right. My inkling or whatever is that it's going to be Lance Leipold, but don't know. We'll find out sometime within the next 6 to 10 days, I would say.
Well, I think by the time we're on the air, we could have a new coach.
Could have.
On the air again. We're leaving. We're going to go watch Nebraska versus Pine Bluff.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes, we'll see you. Talk to you next Sunday at 5. Are we on at 5?
5 to 7.
Broncos football is coming up next.
At Venue Catering and Events, we offer 2 of the most historic ballrooms in Lincoln. The Jasmine Room, located in the historic Grand Manse in the heart of downtown, featuring a beautiful built-in antique bar, spacious patio, and soaring skylit ceilings. The Scottish Rite Ballroom, located just 2 blocks from the state's capital, boasts intricate hand-carved columns, rich dark wood floors, and lavish chandeliers. The perfect venues to host your wedding, corporate event, or much more. For availability and more information, call us at 402-603-6483.
A Shiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit asiaretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse? Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam, ran right into the side of the saloon. Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit stoptextstoprex.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Are you a veteran looking for a new companion animal? A dog, a cat, or maybe something else? The Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs Vets Get Pets program can cover up to $350 of your pet adoption fees. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov/